Sure do.
Outstanding. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've overcome. We're up and running, and we've overcome a lot of technical difficulties here. But finally, we got connected to Walt Lusk, our wonderful CEO president, and he's going to go over some things with us about American National. And Walt, I'll just let you take it away. Tell us all a little bit about your past history here.
Oh, my past history. Okay, well, I started in the insurance industry with a company called Connecticut Mutual in 1985 and went through the training system of a mutual company. It was a 5-year track. First full year I was with the business, I actually came in number 2 in all first-year agents for 2 of the 5 awards, number of MDRT credits, and number of policies sold. I primarily did, back in the day, I did disability, and I sold 60 policies, which back then was a lot for a year. And it's been a fun ride ever since. I've done practically every aspect of finance you can imagine. I consulted with stock brokerage firms in establishing an insurance division in the early 2000s until I realized stockbrokers really aren't interested in relationships. They're interested in transactions. The principals knew better, but trying to get the soldiers in the field to do better, it just didn't work. So I bailed on that and have been basically a specialist of the index strategy, dealing with business owners and high net worth investors since about 2010, when I started a radio show with a partner called Straight Talk Wealth. So, and I've done a lot in terms of building organizations with distribution, which I know is Kelly's ballywig. So we're all on the same page in that regard. Wanted to touch on, just for a few minutes here, on American National, which is our primary company, and why we're using that particular company. And there's a lot of great reasons why. It's what sometimes are sort of assumed or missed. The company itself was started well over 100 years ago in 1905, and today has, as of late last year, assets of over $20 billion. Now, the kicker here is they have capital and surplus of over $3.2 billion. And what does that mean? That means that if everything goes to heck in a handbasket and everybody wants to cash in their annuity, cash in their life insurance, and died, they could meet every single obligation and have over $3 billion left over. A little bit of background, what you guys probably don't know is back in 1913, what was called the LRS, or the Legal Reserve System, was started, which mandated that insurance companies not only had to keep $1 in reserves for policyholder safety, but they also have to have what's called reinsurance agreements with their carriers as the company grows. This is what the foundation of the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, was based on when all the banks failed, which was of course set up by the government to do so, back in the 1930s. And the thing is, so the LRS has been around for over 100 years, and there has not been one person in that century plus that has lost any of their principal in the failing or crashing of an insurance company. Because if another insurance company is bought, and I was watched it with Connecticut Mutual, was merged by Massachusetts Mutual, every single commitment, and disability is a whole lot bigger check than a life insurance potentially, met every single obligation with no questions asked. The only difference was who the check came from. So as far as financial stability, American National is probably one of the top 10 financial institutions, probably not only in the country, but in the world. And not only that, last year, Forbes magazine for 2017 rated American National one of the most trustworthy financial companies in the country. What that means is they select 50 companies in the financial sector that have, quote, shown themselves to be honest and transparent in their accounting. And American National, I can assure you in my dealings with them, have certainly done that. Factors include high-risk behaviors like regulatory actions, amended filings, reserve and expense recognition methods, and bankruptcy. Amended filings basically means, and regulatory actions, they don't really have any shenanigans and they're all straight up and don't have to backpedal in what they're doing. Another major reason why we are using American National is because of underwriting. I don't know about you, but back in the day and currently, there are insurance companies that are going back to full underwriting, a paramedical exam, which means, as I call it, the seal has to be broken. Blood must be taken, urine, height, weight, and all that other stuff, in addition to writing the doctor, which is a whole escapade all its own. And American National, if it meets the qualification, for example, if it's from, if the client is between 18 and 50, and the face amount is between 250,000 and $1 million, they might be able to do on the electronic app alone fast underwriting, which means you can write a policy through their electronic app, which is another reason why we use them. You don't have to sit in front of the applicant, the client, and ask them all those questions. You can actually fill it on their behalf online and not miss anything. And it is approved and issued in very short order. In a worst case scenario, you could write it on a Monday and the policy could be approved and you paid on a Friday. Now, what's interesting, in a previous webinar, someone mentioned that if that's the case, you have to tell your client they're going to draft whatever premium that has been accepted. Because if they don't have the money in their account, it could get very ugly and be a challenge. And the suggestion was that if it's like $200 or $300, go run down to the bank, put a couple $100 in their checking account, and then get the money back from the client. Not only will you save the case, but you'll be a hero. So we have a phenomenally stable financial company. It's been rated very, very highly by a known third party, and we have underwriting that in many instances is easier than a lot of other companies, which is one of the reasons why we use American National. Once we've got some premium under our belt, we will be able to negotiate better contracts with other companies that we're in the portion right now of negotiating with. So yes, we'll have other companies, but the first one that we've done with this A-rated company by Standard & Poor and of course AM Best is top notch and one of the premier companies. And you should have all the confidence in the world of recommending American National to anybody family, friends, or otherwise. I think that about covers that part, unless anybody has any questions.
Oh, everybody's on mute, so we'll move along.
Okay. The other part I'm going to cover on real quick is how to approach a school. I have written, and you can write us, and I'd be happy to give it to you. It's all of 2 pages on basically, and I know it's on YouTube to do so, on how to open a school. It's really not as challenging as you think. First and foremost, of course, is the fact that you want to select your schools before you go out, so you'll be a little more effective in your gallivanting. The best time to do that is between 9 o'clock in the morning and at latest 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I went to a school about 2:15, and it was a big school, and I was determined to get in and chat with whoever, and it was like a salmon swimming upstream. You had parents jockeying for spots to pick up their kids. You had kids everywhere, teachers everywhere, and it was just, I felt like I was not only a fish out of water, but a salmon swimming upstream. So get up, get out, and get going early, and whatever you got to do in your day, just defer it until later in the day. It'll still be during the day, and you're done. And you'll have a lot more success. Plus the fact, if you're approaching a principal and you ask the question, hey, is the principal going to be back later today? And they say, yeah, they'll be back after lunch at 1 o'clock. You've got time to come back and do that. And remember, the reason why we're doing this and this whole thing is for 2 reasons. One, sense of urgency. That parent is looking at their child every day, and if they're college bound, they're in the back of their mind, they're thinking, how am I going to write that check on top of everything else? And of course, fear of loss, because if they use the 529 plan, which has issues, and they're in mutual funds, which of course has risk and fees and loses anywhere between 20 and 40%, how are they going to write that check for a year for college? And you better believe that's in the back of their minds as well. Hence, that is why we are doing what we're doing, and we're experts. So, and we are approaching middle schools and elementary schools, again, for 2 reasons. One, the sooner the better, because from a time value of money, it costs less money to do it on a monthly basis. And from a competitive perspective, nobody else is doing it. So you have to have an air of expectancy. You're going to get in, you're going to speak to somebody, you're going to meet the principal, and you're going to book it. Having that sort of a little bit like you own the place. An air of expectancy goes a long, long way. What I often do is I actually sit on my car just for a moment and I visualize going in and getting the result I want. So what I do, and I learned this from Daryl, is I walk in. If I'm by myself, I walk in and say, hey, you know what? I have been out in the hall without a hall pass. I need to see the principal. And you're thinking, you got to be kidding me. You do that? I do. And yeah, it's cheesy, but you know what? It breaks the ice. It has a little bit of humor. I promise you, in an overwhelming majority of the time, the receptionist secretary will laugh, at least giggle, and you're off to a good start. In many instances, they'll take you seriously. And most of the time, if they're not in, they'll look at their schedule. Oh, they've got meetings, they're teaching, whatever. They're busy today. So they take me seriously in that I really need to and want to see the principal. Once you've got their attention, you've come up with you have three pieces of information. One, you've got the Life Changer a Year Award, which you can actually order from National Life. Second, you've got our 2-page College Smart Strategy brochure, and it's best to put your name on it. It's like a big business card, and print it on a little heavier paper, and of course your business card if you want to. And just say, hey, we're here to give back, and this is a brochure on the Life Changer a Year Award. And on the right-hand side, if you're looking at it backwards and facing them, it says here, I've got 17 awards that they give on an annual basis. The top award is $10,000, $5,000 to the teacher, superintendent, principal, who has the most impact of the students on campus, and $5,000 to the school. And they even have one, and I point to the bottom of the brochure, they even have one for admin, which is $5,000. So you give them that and say, hey, this is just a way to give back. The real reason why we're there, and I pull out the 2-page College Smart Strategy brochure, is we give workshops to parents on how to pay for college better, easier, quicker, cheaper, and faster, and on a wholesale basis. And then I turn to the brochure and I actually use it, and I go, hey, you probably know there's challenges with the 529 plan because here in California, it isn't even deductible. There's lots of risk and fees, and it penalizes parents over 22% of getting aid, and so therefore they give it and take it away. And then the last part I add is, and as you probably know, private universities oftentimes are cheaper than public universities, and I use the word university to keep it separate from the schools they're in, because they have more money to play with. In many instances, it's cheaper. And we give a 27-minute presentation. It's done in and out in an hour to parents, and the reception has been really, really positive. And it's all free. You know, is the principal available for, 9 or 10 minutes just to go over this and see if there might be a fit? And that's really all you need to do and all you need to say. When you get in front of the principal or decision maker, you just rinse and repeat. Hey, here's the Life Changer Year Award. And by the way, here's a little brochure, half-hour presentation, and 529 issues. I went into one school, and the director of financial aid said, I've got 2 parents this week alone that are inquiring about 529 plans, and was able to meet with the decision maker. And they said, yeah, this looks like a great idea. Let's set it up and do it. So, you just have to have an air of expectancy, and a little bit of confidence goes a long, long way. If you want to practice with me, feel free to give me a call. If you want to practice with your friends, back in the day when I used to give seminars, I would practice with a bunch of stuffed animals, and every one of them was always interested at the end of the seminar. So practicing it a little bit goes a long way as well. So that's really about the nuts and bolts of how to approach the school. And what the bottom line is, when they say yes, basically we need their email the email list so we can email on their behalf, or they could do it, when the seminar is going to be, a place on the school, which provides a lot of credibility, to give the presentation, and a flyer we give out as well. So we're trying to overkill on when it's going to be. And I always say there's a survey that's filled out for everyone to get their opinion of how well they benefited from the presentation, as well as interest. And we're fully transparent and give you a copy of whatever that survey is so that everybody knows who's on first. So it really is about a 10 or 15-minute presentation. If you even get in front of the decision maker, you're in and out. So you can go to several schools, as you all know, in short order, assuming they're all, of course, nearby and around the same area. So it really does work. Yeah, it takes a little footwork and time, but the payoff is huge and ginormous. Um, I recommend that you don't email. They're going, well, email. That's just a way to blow you off. And, again, you want to go back and have a face-to-face their meeting. It's kind of hard to say no to someone when they're standing in front of them as opposed to a phone call or email. So that's a little bit about why we've selected American National. Forbes loves them. That's just this last year. And again, all this I'd be happy to give you. We've got copies of them, and you can have them in your Ballywig if you so choose. And can use them if need be when you're meeting and giving presentations to clients and saying, hey, this financial institution is head and shoulders of everybody else, and here's a current valid third party to do that. In addition, it's got well over $3 billion in surplus by state and federal regulations.
Wonderful. Also, Walt, I've got one more virtual handout here about the Express underwriting.
Yeah, there's the virtual handout of the Express. If you scroll down a little bit on the second page, I took this from an email. We can send it to you. You've got there the limits on paper and electronic applications, individual applications, and electronic only. So again, the minimum on a paper and electronic is $250,000, and underwriting is really, really simple. If you're doing electronic apps, which we strongly encourage, it actually is $250,000 to $1 million on ages 18 to 50, and $250,000 and $500,000 if the client is between 51 and 60. So if you're writing a policy, $500,000 or under, and they're under 60 years old and in decent health, even at standard, they're going to do it very rapidly because, again, they want to get the policy issued. They want to collect premium. They've got a vested interest, and it's all done electronically and through their automation. So it's a real quick way. And it's not drawn out. You're not losing the momentum. And when you go back and deliver the policy, since it's been a week or so, maybe take a little longer to get the policy, you are more apt to get referrals because the process was simple, it was fast, and it was easy. Another reason why we, of course, are using American National.
Outstanding. Plus, American National pays you, the agent, on a daily basis. And,
oh, yes. Yeah, they do. $2,000 a day. So if you're earning, $3,000 on a case, you're going to get $2,000 on one day, and you're going to get the balance on the next day. So you're also going to be paid very quickly. And again, it's 75% of what your commission is. And then, of course, you get the balance 10 months or 12 months later. But you get the lion's share out the door, and, you're off to the races on the next one.
So it's much easier to get paid quickly. And that's a wonderful thing that's music to agents' ears right there.
Absolutely.
Outstanding. Well, Walt, if you would be okay with us sending these things out to people, we can
absolutely not a challenge at all
to the group list and make sure everybody's got those in case they haven't already gotten them from American National. We can just have a backup file, and that'll be a wonderful thing. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say thanks a ton for attending, and we've got a lot of good things that are happening, and there are lots of schools, you need to know this, that run all year long.
Year round.
They may be going on a break about now because that's a traditional time, but in a few weeks they'll be back. And so those schools that are breaking for the summer, now is a great time to catch administrators. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience as a former educator myself. This is a great time to catch the staff, the principal. They're not up to their ears in all of the normal day-to-day stuff that would keep them from talking to you during a regular school year. So if you find it easy to get into a school during a regular school year, this is a much easier time to get in and get seminars scheduled. Also, it's getting to be a real accepted educational model for schools to go all year long, because kids forget much more over a 2.5 to 3 month period than they do over a 2.5 to 3 week period. Yeah, so many schools are getting to where they will operate during the summer. They'll send kids 4 times a year on breaks of about 2.5, 3 weeks, and they'll be back in session. Also, in later versions of this webinar, stay tuned to this spot on your computer dial, because we're going to have ways to get into schools and get a hold of parents that are influential in getting into these schools, throughout the year, pretty much at will. And so we'll be talking about that, and I'm sure we'll have either Walt or some of the agents that are really good at doing that, doing presentations. So those are coming up. In the meantime, thanks a bunch. I hope everybody had a wonderful Father's Day. And we'll be seeing you on the next leadership webinar. Have a great night.
God bless everyone.